My name is Jeff, and this is my story of how Water's Edge changed the way I think about church. Let me start from the beginning. I was raised in the Jewish religion. Both of my parents were Jewish. We went to synagogue on Friday night and Saturday morning, and Sunday school on Sundays. I was bar mitzvahed at 13 and continued going for probably a year or two after, and then stopped going. Fast forward to adulthood, I did not go to synagogue at all. Religion really did not play a part in my adult life. I met my wife in 2004. She had a 2-year-old named Caitlin, and we hit it off. We got married a couple years later in '06, and in planning our wedding, the rabbi was not interested in marrying us because she would not convert to Judaism, and we found a Protestant minister to marry us for a donation to the church. We got married, probably shouldn't have gotten married, and we continued our life coexisting for probably a good portion of our marriage. We went through life. I kind of did my thing, she did her thing. We had Hannah a few years later, actually a year later in '07, and I continued making the same mistakes that I made when I was single. And she would catch me. I was probably not the best husband. She would catch me. I would promise to do things right again, and then once things settled down, I went back to my old ways. We did this for years, over and over, making the same mistakes over and over, and just kind of coexisting. I had a job. It was probably one of the best jobs I had ever had, and in April of 2017, my world came crashing down. I had a meeting with my boss at the time, and I was let go for doing stuff that I should not have been doing on company time. That day was a real eye-opener for me. My boss had to drive me home that day. I could not drive my company vehicle because I was no longer employed there. And in driving home, he said to me, I can tell you a few things, what are you going to tell your wife, is what he said to me. And he said, I can tell you a few things that you could probably tell her if you want. I said, no. I said, this time I think I'm going to tell her the truth, and we're going to go from there. At that point, we had 3 kids. We had a 6-month-old who absolutely hated me. We're best friends today. And when I got home, I had to talk to Marie about it. And that should have been the end of our story. Turns out it was just the beginning. One of the things that when we sat down and talked, that was missing in my life was exploring my spiritual side. There were moments in my life that were very good, and those moments were when I had attended church somewhere or done something with somebody that was spiritual based. And she has her own experience with church, and it was at that time not a good one. And she was very doubtful about this revelation that I had. And we tried out a couple churches and didn't quite fit. So a month or two went by, and we got an invite from a friend of ours to Water's Edge Church. And I'll never forget it. It was Baptism Sunday, and they were in the middle of a series called Summer Road Trip. So we agreed to go, and it felt different. Walking in, People were happy. The atmosphere was different. There were people in the parking lot telling us where to park, and she came kicking and screaming with me, and we sat down. We sat down in the back, and it was a big auditorium. The lights went dark. It got loud. The band came on. I'll never forget it. There was this bald guy singing, and it was amazing. Then, after they were done worshiping, it felt like a concert. After they were done worshiping, it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. After they were done worshiping, the preacher came out. At the time, I had no idea who this guy was, and he started his sermon. And his sermon that day was about people who grew up in the Jewish religion and as adults believed in something totally different. And I was like, wow, that's my story. And she kind of nudged me, and we came back the next week as well. And that was when life really kind of began for us. We got involved. She signed me up to volunteer. She wasn't very interested in going to church at the time. She, being my wife, wasn't really interested in going to church at the time. So she thought, as a way to discourage me from going, she would sign me up to volunteer, to be on a volunteer team. At that time, we had what they called green shirts. So she signed me up to be a green shirt, and I actually enjoyed it. And we continued going. One of the things that really kind of kept us going back to the church was that there was no agenda when we went there. It felt the only agenda was to change the way people think about church, and you hear them talk about it, and it is absolutely the truth. It's changed the way that we think about church. And when they say "come as you are," that is exactly what they mean. And we did. And we were broken. And we still are. And our marriage really kind of began after 2017, after coming to church. Marie and I still struggle, and we have spirited conversations. And at the end of the day, we still go home to each other, and we still love each other. She is on staff now as a volunteer, and we volunteer, my kids volunteer with us, and we are able to be a part of that change. And that's made all the difference in our lives. It's a place that's welcoming. They don't judge when you come in, and we enjoy it. It's the best part of our week. It's the best part of our week.